And speaking of generations, we did say plenty of fangirls and boys in this room, and certainly everyone is aware of Dushyanth Sridhar, but his aura and magic also cuts across Gen, Y, Z, Alpha, Beta, Gamma. Am I following through? I mean, all the ones to come as well, and that will be his legacy indeed. Happy to tell you that he is here to also tell us a little bit about his ideas, his thoughts. He has been the foremost voice in this specific area, and through his work has made sure that contemporary audiences have a sense of these texts that live, the sacred texts that are alive and throbbing in our current existing lives today. Dushyanth, the stage is all yours.
Shriman Venkatanatharyaha Kavitarkika Kesari Vedantacharya Varyo me Sannidhattam Sadahridi. At the outset, it is such a pleasure to see an author wanting to illustrate to the people who are a part of this larger event what Narasimha is. Because Narasimha, known as Malola, who's the Aradhya Devata of Sri Ahobila Matam, is Narasimha. Probably the author wanted to illustrate that. So at the outset we tore open the cover of the book. We began with an avataram there. That's very mindful of the author to bring such great memories of Narasimha avataram to us. My pranamams, obeisances to Mahavidwan Sogatto Sri Ramanujacharya Swami here. He has blessed our trust by being a chief guest in the past. He has been a part of our learning journey. So my namaskarams to Swami. My pranamams to the Honorable MP, Sri Yadavirji. And kudos to the author, Sudeshji, for bringing us all together. Even before the MP could arrive, the author spoke for about 23 minutes. And he has taken a bit of my content to his, just that I have to articulate it in a different way to sound different. In our Bharata Bhumi, we have been, or rather we have bequeathed a beautiful galaxy of literature. And we have time and again revered our Itihasas and Puranas at the highest pedestal. Ramayana, which is called as Adi Kavyam, in a great work called Abhaya Pradhanasara, Vedanta Deshika says this is Sharanagati Vedam. Sri Valmiki Bhagavanale Drishtamayiruppaduru Sharanagati Vedam. So to all the commentaries that our commentators have given in the past, they would always touch upon the Ramayana. In the Ramayana, there are two instances where Narasimha Avataram is rather invoked. One, in the Uttarakanda, where there is a rigmarole of events that are described. There it is said, Hiranya Kashipo Mrityur Anyesham cha Suradvisham. So there is a mention of the death that Hiranyakashipu had to undergo at the hands of Vishnu, who is Narasimha. Well, in the Yuddhakandam itself, when Rama is vexed with the minister of waterways then, called Samudra Raja, so he says that I will dry up the waters of the ocean. Angulyagrena tan hanyan icchanna hariganeshwara. To which many of the authors opine that Rama was in a deja vu moment where he thought of Narasimha Avataram and said, I will dry up the waters of the ocean with the tip of my nails. So there are two occasions implicitly, explicitly talking about Narasimha Avataram. Needless to say about Harivamsha, which is a Kilabhagam of Mahabharata that talks about Narasimha Avataram. Srimad Bhagavatam. Samafpriya Suhir Brahman Lokanam Bhavayankaraha. So he talks about in the 7th skanda, where there is a conversation which is given to us as a compendium between Parikshit and Shuka about Narasimha Avataram. Gopyaha kamad bhayat kamsahad veshat chaidyo dayo nrapaha sambandhat vrishnaya snehad yuyam bhaktya vayam vibho is what Yudhishthira is being told by Narada. And then you have the entire beautiful narration of Nrisimha Avataram, where when he appears from the pillar that broke up like a dicotyledon, he says, Mimam samanasya samuthito grato Nrisimha rupas tadalam bhayanakam pratapta chamikara chandalochanam. And how Nrisimha with a face, akantham adi purusham kanthiravam upari kuntitaratim, with a face of a lion that was having eyes that looked like 1,000 suns that were smelted together, with a tongue that was coming out of the mouth like the sword that would be taken of a kshatriya on the war field, with the ears that were going upwards, with the air that would get into his nostrils and get out, like the air, the hot air that would gush into a cave and come out, with a neck that would speak of Pranava, and then with a body that would come of the Adi Purusha. Nrisimha came out, says Bhagavata Puranam, and Vishnu Purana also concurs with Prahalada's Bhakti. So Nrisimha is one Devata that has never escaped the minds, the hearts and the pens of authors and rishis. So Nrisimha's worship has been continuing perennially in our generation. So much so that some Mahacharyas opine that the very Rudram that is invoked, Shatarudriyam itself, celebrates Nrisimha very clearly. So right from the hymns of the Vedas to the lines of the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Harivamsha, the Bhagavata, the Vishnu Purana, Nrisimha is found everywhere. And the Avatara was all about that. He is everywhere. Trailokyame tadakhilam Narasimha garbham. He is there everywhere. Sarvatra asti sada asti. There is no one place that Nrisimha is not pervaded. And that is one Avatara which came for a very short period of time and created such a big impact. And probably in most entrance examinations, we have a principle called KISS, keep it short and sweet. Nrisimha invoked this KISS principle by keeping it so short and sweet. People ask a plethora of questions of Rama. Why did Rama do this to Sita? Why did Rama do this to Shambhuka? Why did Rama do this to Shurpanaka? Her nose could have been spared. Sita could not have been asked to do Agni Pariksha. A lot of questions that people ask of Rama, same of Krishna. Nobody asks question of Nrisimha because they know they'll be torn open. So, when the person is hard and tough, you know how to behave with that person. So, Nrisimha Avataram has been that way hugely respected. That said, the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya parampara, which was invoked by Ramanujacharya Swami and Yaduvirji and Sudesh as well. Sri Vaishnava Sampradayam, though it has its roots to the Vedas and the Itihasas and the Puranas, it was much more put into a very formalized way of a system, rather during the times of Ramanuja. Yes, there were many acharyas like Natha Muni and Yamuna Muni, who was called Alavandar, predating Ramanuja, but Ramanuja was a towering personality, a personality, a Siddhantavadi par excellence. So, his contribution to Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, Vedanta Deshika himself says, if you would have to construct a beautiful, priceless jewel, he would be the pendant in it. Yatirajena nibaddhanayaka shrihi mahati gurubangtihara yashtihi, says Vedanta Deshika. So Ramanuja was the central figure. And we had very many acharyas who came after Ramanuja as his sishyas. The only one in the 74 Peethadipatis that we know of who was a sannyasi was Embar. The rest of them that my acharya has told me, they were all grihasthas. So a sannyasi being a Peethadipati or a person running a matha was not very common after Ramanuja. And just after Ramanuja, there was a period where there were many acharyas. One such person who was a sagacious dietitian, a lesser-known mathematician, a consummate dramatist, a poet extraordinaire, a polyglot, a polymath, to say the least, who has given us a galaxy, a plethora of works of over 100, is Vedanta Deshika. So Vedanta Deshika, his period lasted for 101 years. In the Sahasranama it is said, Saumya Kartika Raka Shri Paryanka Rohanaya, which corresponds to 1369. So for 101 years, he lived across 4 different geographies. One, Kanchipuram. Second, Tiruvahindrapuram, which is Panipatipuram. Third is Satyakalam. Fourth is Srirangam. So it was Kanchipuram. He went to Tiruvahindrapuram, came back to Kanchipuram, went to Srirangam, came to Satyakalam and went back to Srirangam. So he has spent some time in Karnataka, which was in those days called the Melnadu. For people living in the south, this was absolutely foreign. So they call it Melnadu. So you just travel about 75 kilometers north of Gumadipundi, you would reach the place where Tamil stops. Agastya Bhasha Deshatukku Uttaravadiya, says Vedanta Deshika in Munivahana Bhogam to the Pasuram number 3, which is Mandipai Vadavengada Mamale. So, people in Karnataka were very new to Vedanta Deshika. Of course, he was following the footsteps of Bhagavad Ramanuja. But he had some nice words to say about us. He says that we are the most hospitable and nice people. So he says, Sahaja Sulabha Dasyaha. So people of Karnataka, he says, they are very hospitable. எப்படி நம்ம பேசினாலும் ஒன்சூர் காப்பி குடிச்சுக்கொண்டு நீங்க கட்டாயமா போகணும் அப்படின்னு சொல்றா இல்லையா, அந்த ஒன்சூர் காப்பி குடிச்சுக்கொண்டு போனோங்கிறத அவர் கேட்டிருக்கார். அதனால ரொம்ப நல்லவான்னு சொல்லிட்டார் நம்மள. அதனால let's be rest assured that people of Tamil Nadu and Karnataka had such a great bonhomie. So he does talk about Karnatandhra Vyatikaravashat Karbure Geeti Bhede in Hamsa Sandesham, about the amalgamation of Andhra and Karnataka Pradesh. That's it. Vedanta Deshika lived here. He lived in Satyakalam but had great admiration for Melakote, which is Tirunarayanapuram. He says that the waves of quintessential knowledge would lash on the hills of Yadavadri. Vidya Vichi Sahasra Sambramamila Dugdharnavadambare, he says in Sankalpa Suryodayam. So they had a very good impression of Karnataka. And so that way, there was such a great relationship of the acharyas with all these pradeshas. That said, after Vedanta Deshika's time, which is 1369, came one acharya called Kidambi Keshavacharya, who lived largely in Melakote. He had a son, an illustrious one right since birth, and he was called Srinivasacharya. This little boy underwent samashrayanam. I'm sure as Sri Vaishnavas, even if you are not one and you're close to Sri Vaishnavas, you'll be hearing two oft words, samashrayanam, panchasamskaram and bharanyasam. And you will know that they will get extremely rigid after these two processes, and they may not eat in your houses, they will not visit certain temples. So this is the impression. Now let's get into the three different streams that Ahobila Matta traces itself to. One, the acharya from whom you undergo this panchasamskara, where the three mantras are taught. The second, you understand the nuances of what you have learned with the scriptures that we have bequeathed. That is the Kalakshepa parampara. The third, for a sannyasi, the third parampara comes, who has initiated you into the sannyasashramam. So for most acharyas in the past, it would rather be the acharya, the father himself, who would be the acharya, because most of them in those days were Swayamacharya Purushas. They will have extremely erudite fathers. We have fathers, but the prefix word erudite is quite a thing that we may have to think and add. So they used to have erudite fathers, so we had the father initiating the son into the Samashrayana Parampara. Kalakshepa Paramparas, Kanchi was a seat of learning. Though Kashi is still a yatra that we all take in whichever Kalyana Mantapam we do, Kashi yatra. Still, Vedanta Deshika says, Kashi Mudalana Nalnagariyellam Karmeni Arulalar Kachikkovva. Well, Kashi is great. Ganges does flow. It is a very important MP constituency in India, Kashi. So we have our honorable PM coming from there. But Vedanta Deshika says, nothing can equate my Kanchi where my Varadaraja stays. Kashi Mudalana Nalnagariyellam Karmeni Arulalar Kachikkovva. So one thing that both of them, these cities, share in common is the silk. So the Banaras silk and the Kanchi silk is something that can bring all the Bharatiyas together for shopping. So in Kanchipuram, this acharya spent his tutelage under a great acharya called Ghatika Shatam Ammal, who comes in the parampara of Nadadur Alvan and Nadadur Ammal, who was called Vatsya Varadaguru. So he learned all the quintessential knowledge from this acharya. And where does the sannyasa ashramam comes? That is where he is that's the differentiating factor for this acharya. Because for him, it was no normal person who put him into sannyasa ashramam. It was Sakshat Narasimha, who came as a sannyasi, who initiated into sannyasa ashramam. So it is believed that this is very unique for this matha to have that direct association with Sakshat Bhagavan himself. Second, when he goes to this kshetram called Ahobilam. So there are various connotations in which this word has come. Aho, it talks about something very exclamatory in nature. Second is the word vila, which means cave. The second is bala, which means energy. So the word from Brahmanda Purana that celebrates this kshetram is Ahobilam, Ahobalam. So it says that the one who has the greatest unparalleled prowess, Shakti, is within the caves of Ahobilam. So Ahobilam, Ahobalam, Aho Shaurya Parakramam. So in this kshetra, Narasimha is extremely benevolent towards his devotees because he knows some of them may have an L3 and L4 problem. They may not be able to climb the stairs. So he has distributed himself into a set of Narasimhas who are in the lower Ahobilam, where people can just walk, have darshan and come. For the rest of them who are marathoners, trekkers, and all of that, people who do Iron Man, Iron Woman, for all of them, he has given another set of temple where you trek. And in case, what in case if I pant for breath, sir? You're very close to Vaikuntham. So you're just halfway. So either way, you're in a very safe place. So it is called Jwala, Ahobila, Malola, Kroda, Karanya Bhargavaha, Yogananda Chatrapataha, Pavano, Navamurtayaha. So you should have a very memorable journey and darshanam at Ahobila Kshetram, which is so very well managed by the authorities of Sri Ahobila Matam under the directions of the current acharya. Now we have spoken about Narasimha, we have spoken about Sri Vaishnava Sampradayam, we have spoken about how this Matha came into prominence. All the acharyas have been sticklers, have been adherents to the knowledge and the achara patterns, orthodoxy of the Vaidika Sampradayam. That said, some acharyas have been extremely unique in this Sampradayam. So when I spoke about the first acharya, he just not stopped himself from Melakote to Kanchi and Kanchi to Melakote and then Ahobilam. He went as far as a kshetram called Alvar Tirunagari. Unnum Tevu Mulagumattum Yadumillavannu Nanmugan Tannodu Devar Ulagodu Uyir Padaithan Kuntram Pol Manimada Need Tirukkurugur Adanul Ninnavadippiran Nirka Mattai Teivam Nadidire, says Swami Nammalvar about this kshetra. It is believed in the past that the Kauravas of the Kuru Vamsha wanted a long-term investment and they bought a kshetra south of Tirunelveli which is called Kuru Kshetra. That's another Kuru Kshetra which is called Kurukapuri. So later when Alvar started saying it is called Alvar Tirunagari, people of Chennai wouldn't leave, so they created a locality within Chennai called Alvar Tirunagar. So they would always create some mimics of it. There is a Shalagramam in Muktina, there's a Shalagramam in Chennai. There's an Alvar Tirunagari south of Tirunelveli, there's one Alvar Tirunagar in Chennai. There is one Alvar in this thing, we have a Pettai called Alvar Pettai. Just that the Andavan who lives there.
Paramabhagavata Mauni Varasa Shivi Bhakara Sanaka Sanandana Disha Surakim Purusha Kanaka Kashipu Suta Narada Tumburu Pavana Sunu Bala Chandra Dhara Shuka Saroja Bhava Bhusura Varulu Parama Pavanulu Ghanulu Shashvatulu Kamala Bhava Sukhamu Sadanu Bhavulu Gakayendaro Mahanubhavulu. As I'm speaking these divine lines of Sri Tyagaraja Swami, I've received the very divine Onavil of Thiruvananthapuram. This is going to be a grand, a mega Natya production titled Endaro Mahanubhavulu, a festoon of the devout. We have chosen the inspiring events from the lives of 14 acharyas, mahans, who have trod Bharata Bhumi. Doddacharya, Adi Shankaracharya, Vedanta Deshika, Muthuswami Dikshita, Potana, Jayadeva, Andal, Mirabai, Kamban, Tirumalizai Piran, Bhadrachala, Ramadasu, Goswami, Tulasidasa, Purandaradasa and Tukara. We have strung it together into a beautiful dance production that is primarily Bharatanatyam based with movements of Odissi, Ghumar and Mohiniyattam, which is going to be multilingual as well with lines chosen from Sanskritam, Marathi, Brajbhasha, Rajasthani, Telugu, Kannada, Tamil, so many languages put together. I've had the opportunity to work with dancers, Natya gurus of great repertoire in the last 15 years. This is an opportunity for me to have curated the production, to have done the storyboard and narrate the production in English. The choreography is by the very famous, revered Kalaimamani Srimati Anita Guha. The music is by the great-grandson of Subramanya Bharati, a Sangeet Natak Academy awardee, Dr. Rajkumar Bharati. And the soundscape design is by Sri Sai Shravanam, one of the contributing engineers to the award-winning Life of Pi movie. We have all come together to present this grand production Endaro Mahanubhavalu in your city. On the 26th and on the 27th of September at the Prestige Center of Performing Arts in Bengaluru, we are presenting this production. On the 3rd and the 4th of October, we are doing it at the Naradagana Sabha in Chennai. On the 1st of November, we are doing it at the Fine Arts Society Chembur in Mumbai. And on the 29th of November at Kamani Auditorium in Delhi. Tickets are flying off the shelves. Please be present, buy your tickets and be with your family to watch this, I would say, once in a lifetime event. We are extremely thankful to the title sponsor, to the event sponsor, to the associate sponsors, and to those hands who have supported us. To the all of you, thank you. To the all of you, Vandanamulu, please be present. Namaskar.
Adi Van Shatakopan. He didn't stop there. There is one Churnika in a Gadya that celebrates one of the greatest achievements that the Acharya had, which is to get the Hamsa Mudra. I'm sure a lot of you will be aware that there is a mudra, there's a facsimile, there's an insignia. Rings have been extremely revered and elevated in the literary tradition as well. In the Ramayana, it is the ring that Hanuman carries from Bharatadesham to Lanka. It is looking at the ring where Sita is extremely elated. She says, Grihitva prekshamanasa bhartukkara vibhushanam bhartaramiva samprapta janaki mudita bhavat. The commentator Govindaraja gives an anecdote to what happened. And some of them jokingly say, if Rama and the ring were both present together, Sita would still choose the ring more than Rama because it was what her father gifted. So there has always been a ring connection to the Ramayana. 1. 2. There has been a storyline in the Adi Parva of Mahabharata which was later taken by Mahakavi Kalidasa. Kavyeshu Natakam Ramyam Tasya Ramya Shakuntala. In Shakuntalam it is said that Dushyanta gave the ring. Who better than me to speak of it? So, just that he was the pinnacle of forgetfulness and I shouldn't forget, else Sudesh wouldn't call me. So I have to remember that Dushyanta gave the ring to Shakuntala, and Shakuntala was carrying this abhijnanam, this insignia as a token of their relationship. And when she heads back, destiny had it, she lost the ring was consumed by a fish, the fish was taken by the fisherman gave the ring much later to the king. The king, who was suffering like Gajani of some kind of a small short time amnesia, forgot of her because of Durvasa Shapam. Then she's abandoned as a single mother, she delivers her kid, later he unites. So the ring comes in the Mahabharata extent to Shakuntalam as well. So there's a third ring that if you would all like to remember is the Hamsa Mudra. So this Hamsa Mudra, there is a beautiful Churnika that celebrates the greatness of this parampara. ನಿಜ ನಗರ ನಿಬಿಡ ದೇವತಾಂತರ ನಿಲಯ ಸಂಬಾಧ ಸಂಕಟ ಪ್ರಶಮನ ಪರಿತೋಷಿತ ಹೃದಯ ಶಠಮತನ ಮುನಿ ಪುಂಗವ ದತ್ತ ಶ್ರೀಮನ್ ನೃಸಿಂಹ ಮಠಾಧಿಪತ್ಯ ನಿರ್ವಹಣ ಚಿಹ್ನ ಹಂಸಾ ಮುದ್ರಾ ಪರಿಶೋಭಿತ ಕರ ಕಮಲ. So this is the Hamsa Mudra, which is very, very unique to Ahobila Matta, because we need to learn from the marketing language of Kotla, we need to learn of the USP factors, right? 1, Bhagavan himself gave sannyasa ashramam. Bhagavan himself gave the Lakshmi Narasimha Malola Divyamangala Vigraha. And 3rd, the Hamsa Mudra. So from the first Acharya, every Acharya has only strengthened the Matta. One such Acharya who was a great Siddha Purusha, a yogi in himself, was the 6th Acharya, whom we have some anecdotal records stating that he went into a bila, into the cave of Ahobilam, to never come out. So it is said that he is someone in the entire Matta Parampara who is extremely good in Yoga Shastra, because very rarely in Sanatana Dharma, especially in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, after the times of Kurugai Kavalappan, where we find a lot of mention of Ashtanga Yoga and Yoga Shastra. One such Acharya was the 6th Acharya. The 7th, of course, Sudesh did mention. He spoke about the Vasantika Parinayam, which is a beautiful drama that you all want to read and listen. If you want to listen, there are two parts of this lecture that I have delivered in 2017 and 18 in YouTube. You ask the AI acharya there. He will give you everything that you want. So in Vasantika Parinayam, the beauty is, see, in most dramas, there is Shringara, which is very important. Without Shringara, the Kavyam will not sell or run. So in Vasantika Parinayam too, there is love, there is romance. Just that the protagonist, the male protagonist, is Narasimha. So you have to imagine a tent in the middle of the forest. Just imagine, create all of that now. In the middle of the forest, Nallamala forest, is a tent. And inside the tent, Narasimha is walking with a jester, Vidhushaka, telling that he has excess love for Shenju Lakshmi from the day he saw her. And he is in Viraha. Can you even imagine Narasimha in Viraha Tapam? And he's... See, that's the beauty of Vasantika Parinayam. Vasantika Parinayam is not Dushyanta or Rama. It is Narasimha. Can you even imagine seeing a shy Narasimha? Just think, that's how. You know, there is one beautiful a line from the second act that I wanted to share. He falls in love with the daughter of the Chenju tribe. So from the minute he sees her, he's pining in love for her. He is lovelorn. And there is an act where there is lovelorn nature was already brought out by a great acharya called Tirumangayalvar. He says in Siriya Tirumadal, Karar Kudal Kundai Kattivichi Katteri, Sira Sulakil Sila Nelpiditheriya, Vera, Vidirvidira, Maisilira, Kaimova, Pera Iramudayan Yendral, Perteyum, Karar, Tirumeni Kattinal. It seems the girl is so much lost in love that a lady who looks at the palmistry comes and says that the man who owns 1,000 names has caused this virus to her. So it's called Kadal virus, right? That's what Tirumangayalvar says. Here, the jester, the Vidhushaka says, that this girl whom you have fallen in love with belongs to the Chenju tribe. Is this okay for you to marry a girl from the tribal jati? To which Narasimha says, Mukta pishukti janita bhuvi muchyate kim Pangtoditam chanalinam parihiyate va Santyajyate madhuchakim saradha mukhotam Sadvastuno na khalu shankyata eva hetuhu. My dear friend, you are asking if I should marry this woman. She's Sakshat Mahalakshmi. But you're still asking, she is of the Chenju tribe, should I marry? The pearls that we all adorn our necks with, and Narayana takes a lot of it, right? Narayana pearls. So, all these pearls come from oysters. How clean are the oysters? The lotuses that we often equate in our poems to, when Shurpanaka has been humiliated, she goes and tells Karadushana and Trishiras, the brothers ask, who did this to you? She says, Tarunau Rupa Sampannau Sukumarau Mahabalau Pundarika Vishalakshau. Even while she has to humiliate and abuse and reprimand Rama, she says, the lotus-eyed Rama and Lakshmana chop my nose. Isn't that a good way to say? In Kerala, there used to be a line from the Malayalam movie that I used to say. The villain used to come and he used to say, Sare, Nyan Ningale Kollum. He would say in a very friendly tone, Sir, I will kill you. You know, Shurpanaka praises Rama's lotus petal-shaped eyes. In Mahabharata, when Duryodhana says, Krishna, you have to stay in my house, Krishna relinquishes his house, Bhishma Drona Avradikramya Manshaiva Madhusuda, Kimartham Pundarikaksha. Even while accusing someone, you say lotus. Devi Sarojasana Dharmapatni, Brahma sits on a lotus. So lotus is so very sacred for us. The MP is seated here. So lotus is sacred, but where does the lotus come from? Bhagavan says it comes from the Kichad, it comes from the marshes. Just because it comes from the marshes, will lotus lose its sanctity? Will the pearls lose their greatness and the halo that is around them, the aura that is around them, just because they've come from the dirty oysters? Do not ever see the person's birth, but see their knowledge. So knowledge-wise, there can be an exchange, says Vedanta Deshika. So this is another great work. Likewise, after the 7th Aragishingar, every Aragishingar has greatly added richness to the Sampradayam. One such revolutionary who came was the 42nd Aragishingar called Injimate Aragishingar. Whether be it his Granthams, where Asmad Acharya, Tevanarvalaham Saranathacharya Swami, when he used to do Kalakshepam of Srimad Rahasyatraya Saram, he used to quote from the commentary of the 42nd Aragishingar called Sarabodhini. It is a beautiful commentary with a lot of points that Aragishingar has to offer on the magnum opus of Vedanta Deshika in the theological sense. His starting of the Madhurantakam Pathashala college, starting of a magazine, all this 70, 80 years back, what a revolution, called Narasimha Priya. Narasimha Priya has two elements to it. One, knowledge, second is matrimony. So, I'm sure if you go to most houses, their pencil marks will be on the matrimonial section. Check on the articles as well. They are equally refreshing and rejuvenating. The 43rd Aragishingar was a stickler to rules. And his contribution, though for a very short time, is remembered very heavily. All my acharyas, whomever I have learned, they're all associated with the 43rd Aragishingar. So 43rd Aragishingar, whom Sudeshji mentioned of Naimisharanyam, Alvar says, Naimisharanyatul Yendai. In that kshetra where Bhagavan isn't in the forest, Bhagavan is the forest, is the 43rd Aragishingar, Tevanarvalaham Aragishingar, 44th. What a remarkable journey he had. At a very old age, he took up the project of constructing a Gopuram, a Vadagalai Acharya of the Vadagalai sect, constructing Gopuram for a temple of the Tennacharya Sampradayam, which is core. And it was such a beautiful coming together of the two sects. He constructed that Raja Gopuram. When he had to land in Srirangam, when there was a command that you have to construct the Gopuram, he landed in Srirangam. People asked, what brought Aragishingar here? So he would jokingly remark, Anda kala inda kalatha kutudu. I am an old man. The one who is reclining on the serpent couch is also an old man because he is called Purana Purusha. So that Purana Purusha has called this Purana Purusha and the old man. And my Pracharya Srinidhi Swami has written over 100 shlokas to just describe how the Rajagopuram was constructed. So Mukkur Aragishingar, he was called. People who were very close to him knew that he was Nrisimha in very, very many ways. That was 44th Aragishingar. 45th Aragishingar was an Acharya who carried forward the legacy of Matha Parampara. In his Purvashrama, he was a great adhikari in Kalakshepams. And even after taking up to Sannyasashramam, despite his busy schedule, he would give lectures on Tirumangayalvar's last prabandham called Tirunedun Tandagam between 1999 and 2002 Jan. I was a student in Chennai then. So every Saturday and Sunday I would just sneak into the Matam. Outside I would be having shots. I would carry the dhoti with me, just put it around, knowing fully well nobody would check what is inside. And then would go sit there, listen to Aragishingar's Kalakshepam. He was such a great speaker. The Prakritam Aragishingar, in his Purvashrama, has been, as he said, an Agnihotri, a Nitya Agnihotri. He was an authority in the Rigvedam. And when he has taken up this position, with after so many Chaturmasyams, what he has rejuvenated the Matam by rightfully constructing many temples, renovating and restoring many temples, conducting various sadhas, recently being the Veda sadhas. All of this is a part of this parampara. The last portion of my lecture is reserved for one person of this Sangeeta parampara. See, in the Advaita Siddhantam, Sampradayam, we have many acharyas from that parampara who were great Vagayakaras. You had Tyagaraja, who was an Advaiti. You had Shyama Shastri, though a Shakta, he was an Advaiti. You had Narayana Tirtha of the Tarangini, who was an Advaiti. You had Sadashiva Brahmendra, who was an Advaiti. So you have many Kirtanas from the Advaita Siddhanta Parampara who have enriched that tradition. Coming to the Madhva Sampradaya, you have the Ashtadasas. You have Purandara Dasa, you have Vijay Vittala. Guru Purandara Dasa re, says Vijay Vittala Dasa. Purandara Dasa, he gave us a work which his acharya called Purandara Upanishad. You have Kanaka Dasa. Baro Krishnaya Yadavaraya Vrindavana Dolu Venu Nadava. So you have Ashtadasas. You had one Sri Vaishnava Swami called Vaikuntha Dasa in the Dasa Parampara. But in the Sri Vaishnava Parampara, it is very tough to find a Vagayakara as such at that level. But the one who was a predecessor to most of them was Talapaka Annamacharya Swami. And Annamacharya Swami has given us very many Kirtanas and Sankirtanas, which, as Sudesh rightly pointed out, were in a bhandaram inside the temple, and it was finally discovered. And all of them were tuned. Who will not know? Sriman Narayana Dolayam Chala Dolayam Hare Dolayam Vande Vasudevam Okapari Kokapari Kuyaramai Bhavayami Gopala Balam Manasevitam Tatpadam Chintayeyam Sada. How many Kirtanas? Sudesh had one request. He said, just finish my speech, which I am going to do, with the lines of Talapaka Annamacharya on his guru, who is the first guru of Sri Ahobila Matam. Chududindariki Sulabhudu. Chududindariki Sulabhudu. Sulabhudu ante Saushilyam, Saulabhyam అని చెప్తారు కదా. Very easy, accessible. So he talks of his guru who's extremely accessible. Chududindariki Sulabhudu Haritodu Nidayagu Doramunigitadu Karunanidhi. Bhagavan is called Karunanidhi. Okay, we often, what happens is we go in the reverse parampara. If some names have been given to certain people whose ideology we differ with, we stop giving those names to our own children. Tyagaraja Swami says, Shri Rama Jaya Jaya Sitamma Manohara Karunya Jaladhe Karunanidhe Jaya Jaya. Rama is called Karunanidhi. Vedanta Deshika says, Ichhamina Vihara Kachapa Mahapotrin Yadrichaharehe Rakshavaman Rosharama Karuna Kakutsta. If there is one differentiating factor which can bring Rama's qualities, it is Karuna. So he says, Karunanidhi Ranga Patiki Kanchi Varaduniki Venkatagiri Patiki. He brings the three Divyadeshams together. Niratina Ahobila Nrikesariki. Ahobila Nrikesariki. The Narasimha who says in Ahobilam, Tatparudagu Shatakopa Munitadu Tat. So the one who has received the blessings of Ahobila Narasimha is my acharya Shatakopa Muni, says Talapaka Annamacharya. So Talapaka Annamacharya lifted the entire Sri Vaishnava Sampradayam in the Sangeeta Parampara. He predated even Purandara Dasa. So this Matha has had such a rich past. Very many Mahavidwans have come from this Matha. Very many temples, Divyadeshams. Tiruvallur Veeraraghava Swami temple. Tirupullam Budangudi Ramar temple, Adanur Andalakkum Ayyan temple, or Ahobilam temple, all of these temples, I'm talking of the Divyadeshams, they are extremely well managed by Sri Ahobila Matam under the guidance of the current acharya. There are very many branches across the country and abroad as well where Sishyas get together, especially in the US. There is a day called Acharya Day, where all the Sishyas come together on a selected day from different states. As of now, there are 50 states. Hopefully, we don't have the 51st. So, people across the 50 states get together to celebrate the Acharya parampara of Sri Ahobila Matam. So Ahobila Matam has had such a rich past, and to put all of the, trust me, a lot of this information is known to us through our parampara. But when you have to brush up. So yesterday from 10 p.m. till 2 p.m. I covered about 60% of this book, 1.5 kg book. And the remaining 40% was between 10 and 1. So you still have hope. You can complete the book soon. So carry the book and just not the bookmark. Okay? So this book was completed. I'm extremely thankful to Sudesh. He has put all the perspectives of Ahobila Mutt together in such a beautiful compendium. And he rightfully pointed about some kind of historical inconsistencies which does come because we have not been very great. We always believe that Atma is going for Vaikuntham. Why bother about history? But, we have had Victoria, Wren, Martin and Queens rule us. So they regard history more. So for that, history has to be preserved. So Prataparudra, interestingly, just that last one point. You spoke about Prataparudra. Prataparudra comes in the Ahobila Mutt anecdotes. But interestingly, Prataparudra died during the Ulugh Khan conquest in 1323. When he attacked Srirangam, 1321, Ulugh Khan, Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq had an older son called Ulugh Khan who was called Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He took an expedition to the south when he first fought the Kakatiyas, Ekashila Nagaram, which is Warangal. There he fought Prataparudra. Prataparudra was one of the greatest kings. There's a work called Prataparudriyam. Kausalyayai Prathamajanani Devaki Chadvitiya Vishnurmata Tadanuvasata Mummadamba Tritiya. So there is a work called Prataparudriyam that describes the life history of Prataparudra. He was brutally killed. If people could make movies, that would have been the Dhurandhar of those times, because he was literally stripped. He was skinned and tortured. So the Hoysalas also gave way. So Kakatiya dynasty died then. So, but there is a mention of Prataparudra. So there is another kingdom called Gajapati kingdom, which you have noted in your chapters. This Gajapati kingdom had a king called Prataparudra Mahadeva. So we should not get confused between the two. This king was extremely benevolent and patronizing the Matha. So that's one small information. Now, what will happen, this video will go viral, and then some people who believe in Wikipedia will come and say, see, this is what it says. See, you have to view history from a lot of inscriptions. You'll have to see, if it is Cholas, the Velvikudi inscriptions have to come into picture. There have to be Singamannur plates. So history is a lot more complicated. So we have another king. So historically, it's very old. But these inscriptions can cause some kind of discrepancies which are easily solvable with the help of the information that we have gathered in our archaeological department. So that's easily solvable. So he raised that issue. So I just wanted to complete that issue. Thanks so much for your patience, for staying back. I've taken about 6.5 minutes more than what was allotted to me. Please forgive me for this huge blunder. Hope to see you all soon at some other point. Kavitarkika Simhaya Kalyana Gunashalini Srimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave. Namaskar.
Parama Bhagavata Mauni Varasa Shivi Bhakara Sanaka Sanandana Disha Surakim Purusha Kanaka Kashipu Suta Narada Tumburu Pavana Sunu Bala Chandra Dhara Shuka Saroja Bhava Sura Varulu Parama Pavanulu Ghanulu Shashvatulu Kamala Bhava Sukhamu Sadanu Bhavulu Gakayendaro Mahanu Bhavulu. As I'm speaking these divine lines of Sri Tyagaraja Swami, I've received the very divine Onavil of Thiruvananthapuram. This is going to be a grand, mega Natya production titled Endaro Mahanubhavalu, a festoon of the devout. We have chosen the inspiring events from the lives of 14 acharyas, Mahans, who have trod Bharata Bhumi. Doddacharya, Adishankaracharya, Vedanta Deshika, Muthuswami Dikshita, Potana, Jayadeva, Andal, Mirabai, Kamban, Tirumalizai Piran, Bhadrachala, Ramadasu, Goswami, Tulasidasa, Purandaradasa and Tukara. We have strung it together into a beautiful dance production that is primarily Bharatanatyam based with movements of Odissi, Ghumar and Mohiniyattam, which is going to be multilingual as well with lines chosen from Sanskritam, Marathi, Brajbhasha, Rajasthani, Telugu, Kannada, Tamil, so many languages put together. I've had the opportunity to work with dancers, Natya gurus of great repertoire in the last 15 years. This is an opportunity for me to have curated the production, to have done the storyboard and narrate the production in English. The choreography is by the very famous, revered Kalaimamani Srimati Anita Guha. The music is by the great-grandson of Subramanya Bharati, a Sangeet Natak Academy awardee, Dr. Rajkumar Bharati. And the soundscape design is by Sri Sai Shravanam, one of the contributing engineers to the award-winning Life of Pi movie. We have all come together to present this grand production Endaro Mahanubhavalu in your city. On the 26th and on the 27th of September at the Prestige Center of Performing Arts in Bengaluru, we are presenting this production. On the 3rd and the 4th of October, we are doing it at the Naradagana Sabha in Chennai. On the 1st of November, we are doing it at the Fine Arts Society Chembur in Mumbai. And on the 29th of November at Kamani Auditorium in Delhi. Tickets are flying off the shelves. Please be present, buy your tickets and be with your family to watch this, I would say, once in a lifetime event. We are extremely thankful to the title sponsor, to the event sponsor, to the associate sponsors and to those hands who have supported us. To the all of you, thank you. To the all of you, Vandanamulu, please be present. Namaskar.